A march for courage and decency. That was how one onlooker described today's great spectacle. It was a recognition, he said, that the time had come to bury the hatchet over Vietnam and to honour those who fought and died. Today's march is a far cry from the march down Queen Street when 161 Battery had just returned from the Vietnam War. It was 1971. The New Zealand infantry was still in Vietnam. The gunners had come home. It started out like a genuine welcome, but the gunners had returned to a divided and confused nation. It was to be the vets' last attempt at a public reception. Returning vets were stung by the lack of acceptance.
I hated it. I was depressed. That's why I wanted to go back over there, because the first time when I came back, they, you know, you were spat on and everything in Auckland.
I had this big huge suitcase and had Vietnam written all over it. And I wore my Dacrons and my ribbons. Man, I was King Dick when I got there. I was just, nobody wanted to know me. All my friends that I'd grown up with, they'd all got married, they'd had their own houses, and I was just a nobody. Nobody wanted to know me.
Today, at least in Australia, public attitudes have softened. It's now okay to talk about Vietnam, a fact that hasn't escaped Hollywood. But when they first came home to New Zealand, the vets must have wondered where their friends were. Even their natural allies in the RSA gave them the cold shoulder. But they too are coming round.
They suddenly realised that the guys who were the old desert soldiers starting to look and say, well, yeah, those guys really did go and do something. There was a lot of apathy there, especially from the old Second World War guys who said, oh, you young guys, you went away and, you know, you sort of did this and came back, you know, that was it. You didn't go and fight a real war.
They say, what war did you fight in, son? I said, I went to Vietnam. They say, oh, yes, Vietnam, yeah, that was nothing. Did you ever fire a shot? You know, what the hell do you think we're doing over there? Having a bloody good time or something?
That bloody good time was to come on that sunny Saturday in Sydney, the day they paraded to the applause of 110,000 people. The New Zealanders carried 37 flags, one for each of the fallen.
I carried a flag of one of our guys that had died, and as we marched, the people of Australia were saying, congratulations Kiwis. They were all clapping, and people were crying on the streets, and they were coming up and putting their arms around us as we were marching. It was fantastic. But we fought this war in another man's country, another man's war, I suppose. We get welcome home in another man's country. Why can't we get welcome home in our own country?
I'm proud to be a Vietnam veteran! Now he's a really sweet, the kind of boy you pick, the one of the heroes.
After the solemnity of the dawn parade and the joy and tears of the march past, it was time to bring on the dancing girls. Some of the entertainers who toured Vietnam came on to play for the troops and their families once more.
that was original beef. So fine, yes, it's so fine.
Vietnam is now history, but for many vets, the wounds, physical and psychological, were not left behind.
It was a very nice night there, so I sort of went for a walk, and as we sort of walking down the road in Hamilton, suddenly a car backfired. The next thing my wife knew that she was sort of thrown into this foyer of the shop, and I was lying on top of her, and suddenly I realised where I was.
It's hard to settle down. I wake up nearly for 2 hours every day at night time. I don't know why. It's just a lot of other guys do that I spoke to too.
What do you think about when you wake up?
Oh, we had one guy, you know, we had one contact and we killed this guy, and we were all young then, and I suppose we used to go through their pockets and try and get all their money or whatever they had, a watch or something. They did it in every war, and I actually happened to get hold of this guy's wallet. There was no money when I got it, but that didn't make any difference. There was a photo of a lady with 2 children, and I often think to myself now, what the hell's happened to those kids? I've got 5 kids of my own, and I love my kids. I'm sure the guy that we buried loved his kids too, and I think, what was the point? Why? What's happened to those kids?
Some New Zealand vets are talking about following up the Sydney March with one all of their own, in their own country. Others suspect that in the New Zealand of today, Vietnam is a closed chapter.